Well, earlier I spoke to former Scotland Yard Deputy Assistant Commissioner David Gilbertson, who collects figures on predatory police officers accused of abuse, and Nicole Jacobs, the first Domestic Abuse Commissioner for England and Wales. Nicole Jacobs, is it fair to talk about an epidemic of violence against women within the police?
Absolutely. I think the police are not unlike any other part of our society where we're seeing these issues of domestic abuse, sexual violence, stalking, harassment across the board.
David Gilbertson, when you consider the context, 132,000 police officers in the country, something like that, 129 women have made these complaints. The police watchdogs have always said, oh, this is a tiny proportion. Is it more worrying than that in your view, David?
Oh, much more. And there are aspects of it that the public should be really worried about. For example, I found 80 cases in the last 18 months where there is obvious evidence that officers could have been taken to court, but instead of that, they've been dealt with as disciplinary breaches and either dismissed or had some form of sanction. But they didn't appear, and they will not appear, on the sex offenders register.
Nicole, it's really shocking hearing that, isn't it? How should the public respond to that, given that we're supposed to place our trust in the police?
I think we have to demand more of the police, but also we have issues with the police performance in general in relation to violence against women and girls. We've seen prosecution rates dipping for domestic abuse in the last 5 years, down 35%, rape and sexual violence down 55%. We have a real problem here with both the culture within the police and the performance of the police. And of course, this has a huge effect on the public confidence.
David, rape and sexual assault convictions are at a record low. Is it any wonder that women don't have trust in the police?
No, not at all. So the top teams of policing in this country should grasp this problem by the neck and lead by example and lead from the top. But there are other leaders. There are junior leaders. There are sergeants and inspectors who see the people that they're working with every day. Oh, he's a bit of a lad. Oh, he's got something on his phone. Oh, what the hell? Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. Everyone should be on top of this problem.
What David is saying is shocking to hear. Why is it happening in the police? Is it toxic masculinity? Why are the police worse, according to David, than the rest of society?
An issue here is just long-standing views about culture, which in our cultures in general, which obviously pertain to the police. But I do think there is an element of protecting one's own and also, frankly, an element of knowing the system very well. So as you will have seen in the super complaint, people who are perpetrating domestic abuse or any other kind of violence who can use that knowledge to their advantage. So that's why we do hold rightfully police to a higher standard in many ways, because they're there to protect us. The culture there has to be really clear, and we do obviously have a way to go, and we really have to support that change.
David, have you got an answer as to why this is more of a problem in police than, say, the teaching profession?
Those that become deeply involved, some actually are attracted to the police service because it gives them agency to get near vulnerable women and vulnerable children. You'll be surprised at the amount of people who will seek out vulnerable women, not for the women, not for their sexual gratification, but to get at the children. There was one particular officer in a provincial force 2 years ago who was convicted, and he described joining the police as getting the keys to the sweet shop.
Nicole, if we talk about what can be done with this, you wrote to the Home Secretary asking for a review on how the police deal with domestic abuse cases. Have you heard back? What is happening to that?
With the Home Secretary, she's asked the Inspectorate of Policing, HMIC, to conduct a review into violence against women and girls in policing, and that's taking place throughout the summer and will report in the autumn. But what we've got to see are leaders coming together to really drive a consistent approach, define what good looks like, whether that's in the internal culture of the police and also the performance of the police, and drive a consistent response with consequences if it doesn't happen.